evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Sunday Night Live with me, Jonny Lipsham, right here at jonnylipshamstudios.co.uk, here in the Midlothian region of southeast Scotland, which of course is the capital of everything, and all dimensions, even dimensions that don't exist yet. We're already there. Anyway, I hope everybody is doing well. I would like to say I'm fine, but I haven't been. I haven't been for the last 2 days. But that said, spending most of today in bed has helped quite significantly, and I'm definitely feeling much more like I'm on top form, close to being on top form. I was in a darkened room for most of yesterday and most of today. And still not feeling particularly great, but I am sufficiently in fine fettle to be able to do this show. And I've just realised one of these lights is not positioned correctly. Must have got knocked. There we go, fixed. Anyway, so I've not been in particularly good form, and certainly not feeling very great at all, really. But I'm here, and I'm here for you guys, because you guys rock, and I try not to miss a show if I can avoid it. So if I feel up to doing a show, I do one. If I'm not feeling very well, that's kind of the way I play the game, is I kind of decide, am I feeling like I have sufficient energy for doing it? And then if I decide, yes, I have got sufficient energy, then I'm here and I do the show. So I hope everybody is well and has had a great week. I have had a particularly busy week, and there is no let up in sight for busyness. It's probably going to get more and more busy. But that's kind of where things are at the moment. Weather-wise, it's not been great here. We've had lots of rain, and we had hailstones that were actually quite big by our standards. I know, you guys in the United States can have baseball-sized or softball-sized hailstones. Ours were kind of like this big, and we thought, hey, those are quite big. And we were under tornado watch very briefly for about 3 hours, but nothing really came of it. So tornado crisis averted, but basically the town that I stay in, the town that I live in, was right at the center of the tornado watch. So we were kind of on high alert for potential tornado, but nothing materialized. We just had a lot of rain and big hailstones, and that was pretty much it. So I was disappointed because I wanted to go out on the street and I wanted to see a tornado. But there we are. Anyway, let's go see who's in the chat after all of that preamble for like all of 6 minutes. Sean Aaron was first in the door. And he says there was an upright piano built by Schultz dated to 1920-1930 according to the serial number. It was free on Craigslist. Seems to have been sitting in a house for 60 years. Hasn't been tuned since 1940. Wow. So it probably is not going to sound great if it has not been tuned for 80 years. I would suggest that the soundboard is probably beyond repair, and I severely doubt you'll ever get that thing to concert pitch. However, if you like the sound of a detuned piano and you want to kind of run a detuned piano through things like reverbs, ring modulators, and that kind of stuff to create a particularly spooky sound, then certainly there are samples out there, but you can't beat the real thing. Seriously, you can't beat a real detuned piano for kind of going for that kind of haunted kind of sound. So let's see. And Chris is right. Be careful about putting stress on old piano soundboard until it has plenty of time to acclimatize. You say acclimate, acclimatize. Same thing. To its new home. Could crack or explode. Yes, and I have seen a soundboard explode. It's loud. and potentially very dangerous if you happen to be nearby. Chris says, I love this. Chris, your dry wit is wonderful. I love it. I love pianos, especially uprights. The only drawback is there is no way to plug in headphones. That's funny. All right, so we got Sean here. We got Chris Marachna here. We've got Billy Morgan. We've got Archie Hagler. And we've got Boris Dancy. We've got Ron Figura. We've got John Hawk. We've got Neil Thompson. We've got Just Bob, who is having a night out with my wife, he says. Not my wife, his wife, I would sincerely hope, because my wife is sound asleep. Have a great show. I will catch the replay. He says he will eat the replay, but that's okay. You can eat the replay if you wish. We've got Kyle Truduzia. We've got Harley Bob is here. We've got Lawrence here as well. We've got Dwayne. And the chat just jumped. Danny Taylor's here. And Don Oliver is also here. And we got Tony. Tony Cardona is here. And I think I got down to the bottom. Ironweed Studios is also here. There we go. Tony says, career change, tornado chasers. Well, see, if we had enough tornadoes here in the UK, then I would certainly do that. There are tornado chasers here in the UK, but they don't really see a whole lot of action. However, you do get very, very spectacular thunderstorms from time to time. The one 4 years ago in Edinburgh, which I made a video of, that was incredible. That was a very, very spectacular thunderstorm. Yes, we had hail. We had lots of lightning. According to the Met Office here in Scotland, they said that we had, over the course of that night, because the storm went all the way through the night, which is extremely rare for Edinburgh, but that storm went on through the night, and we had something in the region of 32 million lightning strikes through the course of that night. 32 million lightning strikes. And it was like lightning every second or second and a half, and the rumble of thunder was just constant. It was amazing. And then, of course, 2 years ago, my son Sam and I were on a walk. I just picked him up from school, and we decided to take the scenic route home, and we did actually see a tornado. And that was the first tornado I've ever actually seen with my own eyes, rather than watching on YouTube. And I've watched from afar here in the UK seeing tornadoes, but never actually up close and personal. This was pretty up close. The tornado was maybe only half a mile away. So yes, I would like to do that if I could. Let's see. I'm trying to track questions, because we do actually have some questions here. Sean Aaron says, I've seen what looks like piezo pickups for a piano to phantom power to interface for recording into a DAW. What are your thoughts on stereo mic versus piezo? Maybe two piezos. I would suggest stereo miking. Pickups are great, but pickups don't necessarily give you the whole sound of the piano. It will give you the direct sound of the soundboard and the strings near to it, but you're not necessarily going to get the whole sound of the piano, because the whole sound of the piano is, the strings, it's the soundboard, it's the wood of the wood frame of the piano. It's also, the wood kind of box that the piano is in, particularly as this is an upright piano. And it's also the wall that it's up against and the room that it's in, all contribute to the sound of an upright piano. So a piezo can give you some aspects of the piano, but it's not going to give you the best overall sound. You might want to blend maybe stereo large capsule condenser mics, like two that are kind of in front of this the strings underneath the key bed, and then maybe a couple at the top as well. And then you just got to make sure the phase relationship between those 4 mics is good. And then, your pickups, your piezo pickups as well, and then blend all of those together. That might work. That might give you a decent sound. But yes, I would say pretty much the best way to capture an upright piano is with microphones rather than a pickup. I know it's harder to mic up an upright piano than a grand piano, for example, because the soundboard is upright and the strings are crossed over. Most commonly they're crossed over, unless it's an upright grand, in which case you could basically mic that conventionally like a grand piano, except it's going to be horizontal, vertical rather than horizontal. So you could approach it that way. But certainly combination of mics, and if you want to try the piezo pickups and try those, you could certainly try them. I've never recorded a piano ever with pickups. The only time I've ever used pickups was when I wanted to do something really, really funky with a piano, and basically use a piano to trigger some fields recordings that I had created. This is several years ago. This is about 10, 11 years ago. My last days in Cubase. So I basically put some pickups that I had picked up, pun probably not intended, and I put these on the piano, on the soundboard, and then I used them to trigger, I used that audio sound to trigger some field recordings that I had made of other things. So basically you had to blend the piano plus these other weird sounds to go with it to create this soundscape. That's the only reason I've ever used piezo pickups on a piano. Otherwise, you can use a piezo pickup on a violin, and you can amplify that. You can run that through it. It's usually they have like a preamp, a built-in preamp, and then that can go into like a pedal board. I've done that before. I played in a fusion band when I was a teenager, and one of the things we had Alean pipes. Alean pipes are basically Irish bagpipes, and trust me, they sound nice. Scots pipes, Highland pipes, to me, don't sound good. I don't like them. They sound quite out of tune within themselves. Alean pipes don't necessarily have that problem, and they can play in a broader range of keys as well. And so the guy we had played Alean pipes, and he had a piezo pickup on his pipes, so that he could run that through a preamp and then into like an array of guitar pedals. And then we had an electric violin that did the same thing through an array of guitar pedals and effects and things like that. And we played fusion music. We played jazz, funk, and we had a really distinctive and unique sound that no other fusion band around had at that time. It was pretty cool. But yeah, I don't recommend piezos on a piano. Remember, if anybody is viewing on the show on multiple devices, you only get to light once, so the numbers will not be even. Yes, unless you have multiple accounts. If you have multiple YouTube accounts, you can certainly, sign in on one device from another account and you can like away. I mean, it does. It's artificially inflating the numbers, but, if that's what you want to do, then I'm not going to object. Danny says, we appreciate dedication to the show. Yeah, I love doing this show, and I'm very glad, actually, that we're in this particular weird point of the year. We do this twice a year, where the UK is 1 hour closer to the United States, and it means I get to do my show 1 hour earlier, which you wouldn't believe makes a profound difference for me. When I get to midnight, I'm kind of like starting to flag just a wee bit, and I do my show, and I love doing the show, and I'm happy doing the show midnight until 1. It's fine. Don't have a problem with it. I've been doing it for a lot of years now. So, I've been doing Sunday Night Live since 2017, so I really don't have an issue with doing it midnight to 1, which is what I do predominantly And then at 2 points in the year, when clocks go forward and when clocks go back, we have that 2-week period where the US changeover happens before the UK changeover. So we have like this period twice a year where the interval between the UK and the central time zone in the United States is 5 hours instead of 6. And that makes a big difference. It means I can start at 11 o'clock instead of midnight. But yeah, thank you, Danny. I appreciate that. Let's see, what else do we have? Sean says, yes, sound effects sounds great with the tuning. I've been recording to cassette and then transferring to Studio One. Sound effects are amazing. Yes, that's some good way. That's some good way to do it. That's for sure. Neil says, eat the replay was common among VHS machines. Yes, I well remember it. Trust me, I remember recording something from the TV to a VHS and really, really, really looking forward to it. I think it was the Stanley Cup final. Maybe 1990? Maybe 1991 Stanley Cup final. Yes, I'm a big ice hockey fan. And so I watched I watched like maybe the first quarter and half of the second quarter and was just like, I have, I'm recording this, so it's great. I'll just turn the telly off. It'll carry on recording. It's fine. So I came back down and I was all set to watch the replay whilst I was having my breakfast. And then I was going to, I was off on vacation at this particular time. So I was just like, great, I'm on vacation. I can have my breakfast. I can sit here for the rest of the morning and I could watch the rest of the Stanley Cup final and, hopefully watch my favorite team lift the Stanley Cup. The tape got destroyed on playback. I was gutted, to say the least. Yes. So yes, the replay did get eaten. I was not amused. Tony says, have you ever considered dedicating a show explaining an oft-forgotten function of Studio One, which is Pipeline XT? I would love to do a video on Pipeline XT. However, there is a caveat. Pipeline XT is designed for external hardware equipment, such as an external hardware compressor. Like if I had an LA2A compressor, or if I had an 1176 compressor, or if I had, a bunch of EQs outboard, then that's perfect. That's exactly what Pipeline is designed for. It's designed for being able to run those into Studio One and using your external hardware exactly like a plugin. So that's essentially what it does. But I can't show you how to use it because I don't have any gear that will show it. So unfortunately, this is why there is no Pipeline plugins on my channel. There's no Pipeline plugin videos on my channel, and I've never done one in a show for that reason. Chris says, loved your studio tour video. Thank you very much. I did that in 2 takes. The first take was wonderful until I realized that I was shooting it in a format that is not supported by my video editing software. So I was just like, I'm going to have to shoot that again. It was great. Fortunately, my second take was with the correct format and was actually even better. So happy days. I was happy with how that came out. But yes, I did it I did like an intro, and then I just shot the video with my new phone, the Samsung Galaxy S24, which is freaking awesome, by the way. It's a wonderful piece of kit. I would never get an iPhone when you can have one of these. And it's great. It works perfectly. It works better, actually, than my previous phone, which was the S20. Yeah, we had a long contract, so, I missed a few phones in between. But the S24 is amazing. I love it. So, and actually, the cameras on this are really good. I mean, there's 3. One of those is a wide angle camera, which is is the one that I used to do the video. And it worked out perfectly. The color was great. The quality, the fidelity of the video was fantastic, and the microphone on the camera is really, really good, surprisingly good. I was really pleased and impressed with it as to how it came out. Let's see. Elusive 1970 is here. He says, "Can we just move it to your 11 for good?" That's a great question. We could. But that would mean that the show would be at 5 p.m. on a Sunday instead of being at 6 p.m. Central. And I would also have to redo all my advertising, which I'm not really sure I want to do, because I had a guy do those adverts who sadly I'm no longer able to get in contact with him. So I'd have to make up a whole bunch of new ads, and for example, if I go back to the intro page, does it actually say the time on here? No, it doesn't say the time on here, but the thumbnail, you see the thumbnail for the video for my show, that thumbnail displays the time as 6 p.m. I'd have to get all of those redone, and the graphic designer, he's in Germany, so it's a bit harder for me to get hold of him. Let's see. Paul Morgan says, "Who is your favorite NHL team?" Neil says, 91 Pittsburgh Penguins defeated Minnesota North Stars. Yes, that's right. And at that time, I was rooting for the Penguins, even though they're not my team, but they were the team that were in the Stanley Cup final at the time. 1990 Oilers defeated Boston Bruins. Yes, I remember that game. I think the goalie for the Bruins at that time, I think, was Dominic Hasek. And as I recall, he had the highest save percentage of any NHL goalie in history. But anyway, yes, so who is my team? My team is the Chicago Blackhawks. And there is a good reason for that. I've been to see them play. I have family in the Chicago area, and so I have been to see them a few times. And yes, I totally fell in love with that particular team. There are other teams in the NHL that I follow and I think are great teams and are doing well. And some of them have come from, falling on hard times and, come from not doing really well to, kind of climbing that mountain to get back up to the top again. I like teams that do that. I like teams that, they fall on hard times and then they fight their way back up to the top. I like teams like that. And the Pittsburgh Penguins have been a team that have been like that for a while. Anyway, we are kind of a wee bit off topic, and yes, they called Hasek the Dominator. Yes. Probably the greatest goalie in the history of the NHL. Anyway, let's get some Studio One questions coming, seeing as we're kind of at the halfway point. Yeah, Hasek is still number one. Yep, even though he is retired. I'm pretty sure he will retain that number one slot for a very long time. Great goalie. Can you watch the young phenomenon Connor Bedard with the Hawks? Yes, absolutely. I can, yes. The last time I was in Chicago was 2006, so I've not been back for a long time, and the player roster has changed quite a bit since then. But yeah. Can we have a show about the automation lanes you can use? I had sent it. Oh yes, you did. You're right. You did send an email about automation lanes. Yeah, we can talk automation lanes. We certainly can. So let's see. I will start off with this completely blank, not blank, for goodness sake. I'll start with this completely blank new song and we will hit the we'll hit the T here, and that will get us an audio track. So let's go and bang this in here, and if you click on this little icon here at the bottom left, this tiny little fella at the bottom left of your track header, and when you put the pointer over it, the tooltip says expand envelope. So let's click on that guy. Now, by default, you have volume and pan. Why? Because these are the two most popular automation types. We want to do volume and pan. So, and these are very, very easy to do, very, very easy to use. And then you can print them. So let's go and grab something that we can play with. Let's see. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. And that's a music loop. So we can put that on here. Turn that into an audio track. Let's turn that up a bit. And so let's cut that to 11. Let's loop that sucker. Let's go and zoom to loop. There we go. All right, so we've got this kind of nice, kind of sad thing, and you can draw in any automation you want. You can do your own, or you can use the pencil tool here, and we can grab anything we want. So let's, for example, try some square. Like that. So this is going to sound interesting. And of course, it's absolutely turning it up way too much. So let's undo that. And let's turn this volume down. And let's try that again. There we go. Let's try that. All right, so, and you can kind of do this to, you can create like a stutter effect if you want. At the moment, this is kind of set, so it does this every quarter note. But you can set that as tight as you want. But you can also use the transform tool. This is very cool. I love the transform tool. You can draw a box around this, and then you can do things like this. All right, so you can do all sorts of fun stuff with the volume. And then for panning, let's do something completely different for panning. Let's go for a bit more of a sine kind of thing. And I'm going to move this loop back a wee bit. As you can hear, my fader port and my Studio Live mixer are going absolutely apoplectic because the faders are doing this. I wish you could see it, but the faders are going absolutely nuts. So that's what you can hear. Let's see. So yeah, you can set any you can do this freehand if you want. You can. There's all of these different options here. So let's just say let's go and do freehand, and let's go and do that, for example. Or we could undo all of that. And then here in our panning, let's go back to the sine wave. Like that. Yeah, and we're clipping. So that's okay. I just need to turn this down a bit. So basically, yes, these are programmed waves. You just draw them in. As you can see, I'm just basically swiping across with the mouse. Okay. So if I reset the pan one, and if I go back over here, let's just pull this down. Oops, that only affected that one. That's weird. Okay, so okay, that's fine. So if I go back to the drawing tool here, then I can do like a triangle wave, and it basically, as I wipe across, it pre-draws everything in. All I'm doing is just swiping across. And basically it's just doing it according to the grid. As you can see. So everything's basically fixed to the grid. And you can adjust it to so that it's different. So let's say we want this to be quarter notes instead of 16th notes. So let's get rid of all of those. And then let's draw in. Let's draw in some sine wave. Now, see how the sine wave is bigger this time. All right, so if I was to change this channel condition here to, but this should be stereo. I change this to mono. There you go, you get a better effect. So yes, so these are pre-programmed. Now you can add anything to this, any other parameter to this that you want. So for example, let's say you have an EQ. Let's say you have an EQ. Let's just use the Pro EQ for this example. Let's go and grab the Pro EQ and let's whack that on here. And let's say what we want to do is we want to do a sweep, a filter sweep of the high pass filter. So let's go and do this, and then what we'll do is we'll go edit automation LC frequency, boink, and then what we'll do is we will move that over here for a second. Now what you can see here is we can also draw in the same thing. Now watch what happens. Now, we might not want that because that's too fast. So let's do this freehand. And what we'll do is we'll do that kind of a sweep. Now, the cool thing about this is, though I have done this using the mouse, you can do this using a hardware controller, such as a fader port. And the way you need to do that is you would need to select the fader port up in this control box here to be able to do it. And that's a little bit different. And that's actually, you know, for maybe a deeper dive. Maybe we can actually do a bit more of a deeper dive on this next week. And I can show you how to automate things with a hardware controller. The problem is you're not going to be able to see it because I can't actually move my camera, unfortunately. But you can basically select either the knob on a fader port or a fader on the fader port so you can ride the fader up and down. I've done this before with a wah-wah pedal for a trumpet solo, a flugelhorn solo. Not a trumpet solo, flugelhorn solo that I did years and years ago for my EP Belonging to Tomorrow. I played a flugelhorn solo on the title track. And then I used the wah-wah pedal after the fact, using the fader, just riding the fader, making the wah-wah open and close. So you can do those kind of things. You can basically map or select a controller. Like here, I can just select fader port, and you can do it this way, or you can basically just, let's see if I can move. There we go. So my fader port is now selected. And it's selected the volume, but let's say I want to do the EQ. You're going to do it for me. No, it's not going to do it. At the moment, it's just doing volume. I don't want it to do volume. I want it to do this one. Why does it keep changing like that? Don't know why that keeps happening. That's the element I want to map to fader port. Okay, at the moment it's only doing the volume. There we go. There we go. Fixed it. I just had the wrong assignment. So let's go and wipe out all of that. Let's delete all of that, and then let's put this into write mode, and then we'll go back to the beginning and watch this. We hit play, and I'm just riding the fader on my fader port up and down. And then we just hit stop. Damn it. And then what we do is we put this into read mode. So basically, we've got 3 different automations going on all at the same time. We've got the volume, we've got the panning, and we've got the low cut all going on at the same time. So makes for a whole lot of fun, and you can pretty much control anything with a hardware controller or with your mouse with an automation lane. It's very, very easy. You just right click the parameter that you want to automate, and then you select edit automation. That creates an automation lane automatically. Okay, so this is incredibly powerful. An incredibly powerful method for automating anything. So if I drop this back down a wee bit so that we can see everything in play, and let's expand that to make the micro view. There we go. So we got the micro view, and we can watch the high pass filter, micro view, the panner, and the fader all doing their thing, responding to these automations that we've created. RJ says, tough to see the WAVs. Yeah, they're there. They're there. Just right there. Please note that each track can have many different automation lanes. You can have as many automation lanes as you want. So if you want to do, 10 different automations on one particular track, you can do all of them. Now, the cool thing here is, let's say you've finished. Now, you don't want to have all of these automation views in view all the time. Otherwise, like if you've got 10 vocals with 10 automation lanes, you don't want to see all of those at once. So we just click on this little guy and it hides them all away. And they're still doing their thing. They're still doing their thing, we just don't see them. So this is really useful. This is really useful if you don't want to have your screen cluttered up, but you want to have as many automation lanes as you want for whatever mixing purpose or sound design purpose that you have. So this is really, really powerful. Tony says I'm getting dizzy. Yep. All right, let's go back over to the lounge. There we go. The Xtrem plugin works good on that type of panning. Yes, it really does. Xtrem is fantastic. I have this really nice Fender Rhodes thing. If I just create a new track here, and we'll call this Rhodes. We'll keep it mono, but we'll set this to input right. And then we'll mute that guy because we don't need to hear this one. And then what we'll do is we'll set this up to into monitor mode, and then we'll put this into stereo mode. And then what we'll do is we'll open up this here, and I'm going to go to my presets because I have, let me see, where is it? Is it effects chains? There it is, panning Rhodes, my effects chain for panning Rhodes. Let's whack that into there. And now you should get that nice 1970s tremolo effect with a bit of a phaser as well. And it just sounds absolutely glorious. So what do I have in this? I have the phaser, and I have a bit of a delay, and this chorus is not actually enabled. That's in the pedal board, and then Xtrem is doing a pan with 100% depth and going at a half note speed. And we're using the sine wave as the LFO. And that's pretty much all she's doing. There we go. Oh, you couldn't see any of that. I just realized you guys could not see any of that. So let me show you again. So I have this track preset called Panning Roads, which features the pedal board and X-Trem. Sounds glorious. You heard it. So we have the phaser at a 31% speed, which is modeled after that MXR phase 90. Sounds glorious. And then we've got the delay with an dotted eighth note delay. That sounds fantastic. And then we've got the X-Trem doing the sine wave 100% depth at a half note speed at 90 BPM. I don't know why that was at 3/4. That's weird. Anyway. Curious by why that was. Anyway. It's muted, but all the automation's still going. Okay, so that's pretty much how you do that. I created this back in 2021, and creating effects chains is really, really easy. You just add whatever plugins you want into a channel, and then what you do is you can hit this plus sign here. I think this is how you do it. I can't remember. Remember how you do it. Was it this drop down? Yeah, there you go. It's the drop down. And then you go store effects chain. And then you give it a name. And then when you've done that, it appears in this effects chain here. So I've got a few. I've got a megaphone vocal effects with delay. And then I've got this one here, which is my vocal chain, which features two fat channels, one that's doing EQ and compression and the other one's just doing compression, and we got the SPL de-esser. So there you go. Let's see. Kyle says hard to demo, but for next week show how to use the XY pad to control two parameters at the same time. You know what? I've never used the XY pad. I don't even know what I don't even know how to do that. But I can figure it out and see if I can get it to work, and then we could maybe try doing some XY stuff. Because I've never used that before. Really, to be honest, because I mostly work in jazz and folk and R&B, a little bit of R&B, but mostly, kind of old school funk, 70s funk, jazz, fusion, and folk music as well is a lot of what I do. I don't really have the need to do kind of XY controlling of multiple parameters, but yeah, it's certainly something I could think about. Tony says sounds like heaven to me. Yes, it actually does. I love the sound of that Fender Rhodes. All right, there we go. We have like 5 minutes left of the show, so we could maybe do like one last question. And one last thing to show, but other than that, we are pretty much out of time. Can we see the lanes? You can certainly see the lanes. There we go. There's the lanes that we did for the other thing. So if I unmute that now. And of course, I've kind of misshapen the loop. Oh, yep. So there you go. So there's the lanes. We got the volume at the top. We got the left-right panning, and then we've got the low cut in the Pro EQ, which I did using the fader port. Once I remembered how to do it. But as soon as I remembered how to do it, we were good, and I could easily just write that in. So, but yeah, you can do that if you have a Studio Live mixer. You can also do it on the mixer as well. You just have to change the controller here and add a device. And I think you can pretty much do it using DAW mode on the mixer, and you can use the faders to write automation. So if you've got like lots of drum tracks and you want to do a fade down of your drums for a particular reason, you can do that with the Studio Live mixer. It should work just as well. Tony says opinions on the T question. I didn't see a T question. Was there a T question? Let me go up and have a look. Oh, there we go. Tony says, what type of tea would help with songwriting in Studio One? I've read about studies. The oolong tea with licorice, bergamot, and bay roses help immensely with creativity. I just drink regular tea. In fact, this is Yorkshire tea that I'm drinking, which is English. It's from the county of Yorkshire down in England. And I have also drunk Tetley, which is another Yorkshire tea. But if I'm talking about specialty teas, my favorite and the one that I have drunk the most when I'm working on something like a big chart, a big band chart, or something like that, or I'm working on an elaborate arrangement of something, or I'm doing something orchestral. Assam, the tea from India, Assam, is very, very good for that. Now with Assam, you want to put a wee splash of milk in, cold milk. Don't ever put hot milk. Don't ever put hot milk in tea. So make sure the tea is nice and hot. Make sure the tea from the Assam tea has brewed and nicely. So you gotta let it brew. If you're using a bag, leave the bag in for a couple of minutes, then take the bag out. If you're using leaf tea, then you want to keep them in the tea strainer for and keep them submerged in the tea for about 2 minutes, and then take them out. And then add your wee splash of milk. And if you have a sweet tooth and you like a wee bit of sugar, then put a wee bit of sugar in. I have sugar in my tea, but I am perfectly happy with not having sugar in my tea, and I'm perfectly happy with not having milk in my tea. If there's no milk available and there's no sugar available, then I will have it without. Not a problem. I will just drink black tea. So there you go. There's the answers for that. Neil says, this crazy automation you set up there cannot have been good for your migraine headache. Well, the good news is, because I have this microphone, I don't have my speakers up very loud. It's actually very quiet, so I can't really hear it. The thing that I can hear the most are the faders. The fader port and the fader on my Studio Live mixer going absolutely ballistic up and down. That's louder than the music coming out of the speakers, because I have the speakers set to a specific volume that's quiet enough for the mic not to pick up, but it's also loud enough that I can hear it. So I can hear what I'm doing, but the mic doesn't really pick it up. All right, there we go. We are at the midnight hour. So that is the end of the show. So we will be on to Songwriting Simplified on Wednesday, where we will be starting to look at harmony and what harmony is, how do we make harmony work, and we're not just talking about chord changes here, although obviously chord changes play a role, but we're also looking at how to write harmony parts. So how to write vocal harmony parts, how to write horn section parts. So if you've got a horn section and you want to harmonize a particular line, or you want your horn section to play chords, what notes do we use? How do we make those work? That kind of stuff. So that's what we're going to do for a few weeks. Basically, the whole idea is I'm giving you these melody writing tools, these harmony writing tools, and writing for strings, horn section, that kind of stuff, as tools to help you with your songwriting. That's the whole point there. So if those things are of interest to you, if you want to learn better how to do vocal harmonies, if you want to learn better how to write for horns or write for strings, that kind of stuff, stick around over the next few weeks. Make sure you hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed yet. Excuse me. And also hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my shows and you don't miss any of the other videos that are coming this year. You've already had 2 of the videos that are coming this year. You've had the transpose video, and you've had my studio tour. There are other videos in the pipelines being created and being made ready to go, so you don't want to miss those. And also make sure you hit that like button if you like what I do. If you like what I've done tonight on this show, hit that like button. I'm going to go check and see how many we have so far, and we got 17. We got 19 people here. We peaked at 24, but we have lost quite a few people. So anyway, that's it. Thank you very much. Rich Cresswell has just joined us right at the end of the show. It doesn't matter. Rich, I think, has forgotten that the clocks don't go forward until next Sunday. It's not this Sunday, it's next Sunday. So Easter Sunday, clocks go forward. Easter Sunday is also when we will be revealing your Easter egg songs for the Easter Song Challenge. We've already got some entries, so get those entries in as soon as possible before next Sunday's show, and get them, just go down to the web address there, use the contact form, email them to me, and you can either email the MP3 or whack it up to SoundCloud like we did in the previous one, and I will go and get your SoundCloud links, and we will listen to your songs together. It will be cool. I'm looking forward to it. I haven't listened to any of them yet. Not going to listen to any of them until the show, okay? And on that show, we will check out your songs. There is no prize for this. This is just a challenge. It's basically just a simple challenge to see if you can write a song about an Easter egg from the point of view of the Easter egg. And you can make it amusing, you can make it melancholic, you can do whatever, you can make it horrifying, you can do like a horror version if you want, you can do whatever you want. But you've only got about 6 days in which to get it done, whichever one you want to do. Alright, so there is an after show. If you're interested, Billy Morgan is going to host that if you're interested. But that is the end of that. And I will see you on Wednesday for Songwriting Simplified. And my accent is going extremely Scottish. And if you're not careful, you won't be able to understand me. I usually keep it under control, but I'm obviously very tired. So I'm sorry. I apologize. I will see you all on Wednesday for Songwriting Simplified. Until then, folks, have a great rest of your week. Bye for now.
Bye.